There we go. We'll try that again. It helps if I change the category and stuff just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, guys. Sorry, it's been a long week. And I'm not completely awake yet. All right. Get our tools out. Don't think we're gonna need the big guy, but we'll have him at the ready. Set up our needle here carefully. All right. For the moment, I'm gonna pop him right there. All right, so we're picking up with our felting along with Bob Ross project. This is how far we've gotten so far. I'm fairly happy with it, with how it's coming. It's not looking too shabby. Yeah, so I believe today we're going to be starting one of our more harder things, which is going to be a bigger tree. We will see how that goes. So we're going to have to advance the tutorial a little bit and see where that gets us, so we can figure out what colors what colors we need next. Okay, so let's see what we got going on here next, Bob. I do have it muted for you guys. Alright, so we're going to put in an evergreen. He's going to live on that side of the canvas. Now this is probably going to be a little bit difficult for me with this medium. Again, we've been doing a lot of stuff I haven't done with this medium before. Okay, so not just one, but two, because, you know, friends. That one's coming in at a little bit more of a slight angle into the other one. And then he's going to highlight it, probably with something similar to our ground color, is what it kind of looks like. And then he's picking it up again, and then we have another tree. Oh wow, he left a lot of space on that side, and we most definitely did not, but that's alright. Oh no, there's an ad. I want to skip the ad. Why are we in an ad? Dang it, YouTube. So, then we've got one, the inside one's taller, the outside one's a little bit shorter, and that's going to come down to the base here, and that one's like about here. And then he's grabbing a buttload of paint. Okay, and then he's just like going all willy-nilly, blocking in color. Alright. And then putting his reflections in. Okay, let's stop you there, Bob, because these trees might be the only thing that we get done today. Alright, too far. Can we get that with your hand out of the way? No. Okay, that's good enough. Alright. So, we're gonna need our dark green. What on earth is that noise? Kind of sounds like helicopters. Kind of sounds like a lot of helicopters. Interesting. I couldn't see them. All right. So, we've got some threes to do, it would seem. Okay. So we're gonna see about putting in our trunk to follow down. He doesn't always. Sometimes he does. And he does say if it helps you keep your tree a little bit more in line with where it should be, then by all means. So, this tree is really close to the edge. Like super close. So, I'm thinking maybe about there-ish. Now this is just my trunk, quote unquote, that I am putting into place. Try to keep this as straight as I can. At least as far as like the center line of our tree is concerned. And that is why we have finger protectors on. And we're a little crooked, but you know, that's gonna happen. Tree's gonna tree. The tree is gonna tree. Alright. So let's get some of our fluff here. I'm gonna try to snake that just a little bit. probably not. I feel like we're a little thick here, but let's see if I can thin that out just a little bit. Alright, so he starts just down. Just a skosh. Now this could be a completely hot disaster. We will see. Just kind of twisting that a little bit just to keep it a little bit more together here. Now, I probably should have practiced my tree first, but I didn't, so this is probably going to be quite a disaster. Okay, so right about there. I'm gonna break that piece off. We're gonna see about grabbing another strand set here. Hope everybody's having a good weekend, or had a good weekend. everything that's happening in the world. Remember to take mental health breaks as you need them. Because sometimes you just gotta. Let me pop this up. Yes, we're on the big trees today. How are you? Just gonna rub the back of that a little bit. Keep that from getting a little too bunched up there. We're trying to do big trees today. I don't know how successful we'll be, but we're trying. I'm alright, I'm alright. Been sick all week, but that's okay. We've been pushing through. I've kind of had to push. Easy there now, project, easy. Kind of had to push through. I've definitely learned to push through it, I'll put it that way. And it doesn't have anything to do with streaming. If I really feel terrible, I won't stream. But I have migraines a lot that don't always want to necessarily cooperate. So when it gets down to like background headache levels, I will try to push through to get something accomplished. We are so off of our tree center line. I guess as long as we get the basic shape down. These trees are super easy to make with a fan brush. Not necessarily the case with wool, but that's okay. And so it's been a rough week, plus with everything else we've got happening here, which also hasn't been helping. But we're getting there. I have a shit ton of house stuff that has to get caught up on. I have to do that tonight. I still have a bunch of challengers I need to get leveled for Wednesday. Don't know how many we're gonna have ready for that, because that monk became quite the time sink. Plus with me not feeling well, I was like, meh, I don't care. So when my headache takes over, I'm just like, yeah. I was like, this isn't a high enough priority for me right now. And then I would like, I know I wouldn't be able to sleep yet, so I would like sit there and just kind of dick around in something else until I felt that I could lay down. Because sometimes laying down doesn't help. If I've laid down so long, it starts to hurt to lay down, so I'm like, yeah, okay. So then I try to sit up for a little bit. It doesn't help being able to see the trees since we have the dark evergreen behind it. And I'm just gonna start kind of taking this off the edge now on the other side. We're gonna lose that edge anyway, like over in this section, so that way we're getting the feel of it going off quote-unquote canvas. Yeah, there's always some shit going on, I gotta say. But we did get the monk ready last night. I think I finally got them wrapped up around 2 this morning. For me, around 2 this morning. They've got a bar to go, which is where I wanted them to be for stream, so I'm like, finally. So I think the next one I'm going to worry about are the 2 low guys, because I don't want them to fall behind too much. So tonight, if I have time, big if, tonight if I have time, or the energy. Oh, hit the microphone. Sorry about that. I will start to work on those 2, the shaman and the warrior, because they shouldn't take too much time to get through. And then we'll go from there, but it really depends. I have leftovers for dinner tonight, so I don't have to worry about cooking. So that'll save me some time there. But I do have a bunch of house stuff that needs to get done. Kitty litter boxes need to get cleaned. Trash needs to go to the curb for in the morning. All that stuff. I gotta get dishes washed while we still have water, because we don't know if the plumbers are coming tomorrow. We haven't gotten confirmation of them starting tomorrow. It's kind of up in the air because of the weather, and I don't know if they had another job commitment. So we'll have to see about that. That section looks a little rough in there. Hard to see that it looks a little rough, but okay, now we need to start bringing that down to try to catch up to where the rest of the trunk is. I'm just kind of twisting this just a little bit, just to kind of get it to behave a wee bit. Stretches it out just a little as well. Okay, now it's probably over a little bit far. But that's okay. You know what, we don't really have to be dead center with that line. It's not like it's a huge deal if we're not. But we'll see. But there's no show for the next week for the podcast, so I will have a Saturday open next week to kind of spend some time catching up on some things. So the weeks that there's no show actually give me a slight breather, because then I can focus all of Saturday on getting characters regrouped and resorted and all that. But show days are a little bit more hectic and difficult, because then I have to stop for a block of time. I can get a little bit done depending on what time I get up. If I get up a certain amount of time before the show, and then I have to go help mod the show, or I'll be on the show, and then after the show I go make dinner. And then after that, I have post-production that I do for Lita for the show. So I have getting blog posts set up, getting stuff transferred around, scheduled to where it's going to go, and what time it's going to go, backup copies being made, and sent to where they need to go. And then whatever other stuff I need to do for her, if there's anything extra that particular week. The tracker not functioning right now has actually been good for me, in the fact that I haven't had to worry about doing write-ups in between. However, if we do get all of the runs verified that happened since the tracker went down, I'm going to be very, very swamped and very, very busy. That's for certain. Because I think there's about 10 to 15 write-ups I need to do that are sitting in my, that's a lot of things revolving a show. Yeah, it's a lot. Lita will edit the audio for the MP3 file, and she usually uploads it to where it's held, or hosted, and then I get that file name, and then I do the things that I have to do with it. And set up the blog post that goes up on the website, and I have to transfer the VOD from Twitch to YouTube and schedule that and put everything in the description box and schedule the tweet that the show blog post is live, and schedule the Facebook post for it, and you know, if it's a special show, I might have to make a special header for it. unless she already made one and gave it to me to use. You know, it's things and stuff that take time. Normal people, it probably wouldn't take them that long, maybe an hour. My ADHD brain, it takes a little bit longer, shall we say. I get distracted easily. I just want to fill in a little bit more over here where it's a little thin. You can't see, I don't think you can see that it's a bit thin over here, but I can see it. And it's one of those things that's bugging me, so we're just gonna fill that in just a little bit. So yeah, and my Saturdays are basically the show. And if I can get something done around it. So that's why we don't stream on Saturday, because I don't have the time. Especially if it's a show day. If it's a show day, it ain't happening. We did do a few streams on Saturdays during the show's winter break. So, you know, if I don't have too much going on that I'm worried about, then yeah, we can do Saturday streams. And we might end up starting to do Saturday streams eventually. Alright, I'm gonna start to work in our bottom area here. That was probably a little too big. Once I get my challenger goal completed, we'll be, I'll have a little bit more time, because once I get this goal completed, I plan on taking some time away from WoW. Because I need a break. From that for a while. Because it's been a lot. And I'll still try to help Lita with what she needs done, but I do plan on taking at least a small break. To regroup my brain and work on some other things that I want to work on. So I want to get some more art stuff worked on, because it's not just what you guys see challenger wise on Wednesdays. I've had to spend the rest of my week, or at least most of my week, slogging through and trying to get those challengers leveled. as I've had time. So, I mean, that's quite the time sink on those guys. Like, for instance, that monk probably took about 8-9 hours. Of in-game leveling playtime. That's just the monk. But soon the monk will be done. And then we'll get the Death Knight back in there. No idea how the Death Knight's gonna do. Out there in Bastion. No clue. So my challenger goal is to get one of every class to max as a bloodthirsty. I don't really care so much about the iron. Iron's never really been my bag. I've given iron a hefty go multiple times. We get there, we get there, we don't. Iron is 54. So if it happens, it happens. It doesn't, it doesn't. It probably won't on the iron, to be perfectly honest. Just because I'm pretty much down to holidays, because I don't want to take her into Shadowlands, because I know it's not going to end well for her in Shadowlands. Because she is quite the squishy beast. And I was having trouble killing stuff in VFA, so I know taking her in there is not going to go well. And yeah, there's supposedly a couple of safe, quote-unquote, world quests that she could do, but I hate doing world quests, and they're just not fun for me. I find them quite boring and sloggy, and usually even safe stuff I could kill myself on, so, or kill my character on. But, you know, I don't think that iron is going to hit max, and I'm okay with that. Like I said, not a big deal for me. I'd rather make sure that the bloodthirsties get there without dying. And that's the main thing. So so far for max bloodthirsties, I've got a priest, a paladin, a warlock, priest, paladin, warlock, mage, rogue, and hunter. Hopefully the next one to get there is this monk, and monk would make 7. So the remaining classes to hit max for me are going to be monk, Death Knight, Druid, Monk, Death Knight, Druid, Demon Hunter, Shaman, and Warrior. So we've got 6 to go. The lowest level Bloodthirsty I have right now, level 36 currently. So 30 and 30 is 60. So she's got less than 30 weeks to go. To finish. And at this point, if somebody dies, then I just won't be getting that class. Bloodthirsty is the one that you level via killing. Yep. You are grinding from word go unless you're locked into your starting area, depending on your class or race. So, like Death Knights and Demon Hunters were allowed to quest out of their starting area. Same with Pandaren, Goblin, Worgen. I refuse to do Worgen as a challenge character because their starting area was always so buggy for me. I would get to just before leaving it and it would bug. And then I'd have to start the whole damn thing over because something stupid would happen that I couldn't get out of. So I know our tree is like super strange, put it that way. That's okay. You can see how strange it is more in person than you can on the camera, I think. But that's alright. I think the next tree we might do bottom up and do it backwards. Just to make it a little bit easier for me. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe it's better that it's not quite an awesome on point looking tree. Might give it a little more realism happening to it. I will say we've got so many layers of fiber on here. It's becoming very stiff. Yeah, it's not for everybody. It takes a certain level of insanity to sit there and go through it. Especially the number of times that I've done it. Because, mind you, some of those characters made it to 120. So the paladin, the priest, and the warlock, they all made it to 120. Plus I'd made it to 120 with a demon hunter. But that demon hunter got flagged for taking Threads of Fate when we thought it was okay to take it. And then we realized, oh shit, what the hell? And quest credit was given. So I had to re-roll that demon hunter. Even though they were 50, had made it through them all. And it was the first one that I took the threads option with. So had to re-roll that one. I wasn't real happy about that because it should have been allowed. It said it was allowed, and then I got nailed with a flag, and I was like, what the hell? And it was like, oh yeah, Blizzard's apparently giving quest credit for the storyline when you take Threads of Fate. The world quest option, which is why Bloodthirsties now can't do that. So you either have to buy the scouting map toy for Shadowlands, in order to move to a different island without getting quest credit, or you have to stay in Bastion. I don't really want to drop that kind of money on something specifically for Shadowlands, especially when I'm not really running too many alts through there. Like, I really haven't even worked on my normal characters this expansion. I've just been kind of meh with this expansion. I don't know if I'm just burnt out on it from doing so much testing for Lita when it was in beta. I don't know. I'm like, I might just be burnt out in general. This expansion was a lot to deal with. At least from a challenger point of view. It felt like so. Alright, we got our one tree in, and I'm actually going to highlight this sucker right now. And then we'll come back in and we'll put the other tree in. You bought all the map toys, but I'm not using them now on the pacifist as it removes the exploration XP, and you kind of want that on the passy. It helps sometimes. My pacifist isn't, well, the first pacifist I got to 120 was the 120. Then I got to 60. Had hit 120 previously. So I wasn't real keen on having to go and explore shit again. And I really didn't do that much exploring on her. And I definitely didn't really do any exploring on her when I got into Shadowlands. All I did was, it's a little bit. All I did was, farm for my stuff, and call it a day. But my server's also extremely busy with me being on a normal server. So I'm sure it's a little bit different. And I'm not really the explory type. I just kind of went to where I needed to go and did my thing. I play very differently. I'm scared of my own shadow when I'm out. So the longer I'm out and the more places that I'm going, I feel like I'm risking a proc skill. But that's just me. So I really didn't do a whole lot of exploring. I know lower level you kind of have to try to get to level 5 unless you start during a holiday. Keep hitting the microphone. In which case you might not have to do quite as much. It depends on what level you can start accessing the holiday stuff. But like, I didn't do any of the Shadowlands world quests on my pacifist. I strictly gathered. And I was getting about a level a night. But then again, I was also gathering for like 2-3 hours. But I'd rather gather than quest. But that's me. Alright, let me advance this just a little bit more. Okay, so we kinda... are a little bit heavier on this side. Like, even on my normal characters, I kind of stopped questing after a point. Like, I would quest a little bit, but Bloodthirsty has completely ruined me, because I'm like, oh no, quests are bad. We're just trying to get the highlight in on this tree, and it's probably going to look really messed up, but, you know, we're trying. Just want to re-smooth that out a bit. It's getting really heavy. Heavier than it looks, I'll put it that way. It's a little deceiving. And I've got so much fiber embedded in our mat here. Probably need to like go over it with a lint brush or something. Some tape. Alright. There's some extra pulled off. Okay. So you gather from 20 to 50 with more mode on for the... Oh, you are brave, friend. I could not do that on my server set. I could not. There's too many people out for blood on war mode for my server set. But then again, I'm on a normal server and I'm linked to about 5, 6 other servers. It used to be just the 2 servers linked together, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And then they went and added more servers linked to it, and I'm like, stop! We're like 85% ally owner server. Yeah, it's... The server set I'm linked to seems to be primarily Horde. And the one server I see the most Horde players from, so I just feel like that server must be heavy Horde. I have a couple of Horde challengers, but not very many. I mostly run Alliance because my main was Alliance and I was trying to keep all of my cash in-game on the same side. So that way I'd have an easier time buying a token if I got enough for a token. A bit short on token money this time out because it jumped again, so I was like, well, I guess we're actually gonna have to pay for WoW this time. Alright, that looks kind of terrible, but at the same time, it kind of looks like Bob's tree. Kinda, sorta. That's what we're gonna tell ourselves. Alright. We'll just stretch this out just a little bit. Trying to make sure it actually was hitting the fiber there. So he mostly seems to be staying to this one side of the tree after a point. And actually the green branches on this come out to about here, so I think we're looking pretty good there. Okay. So I definitely don't want this to be too thick since it's our highlight color. I am taking it off the edge just to make sure that we're anchored in good enough. That piece kind of separated on its own there. That's fine. Just tap that down into place. I'll stick the little guy over there. Alright, so again, I'm just twisting it a little bit. Just to kind of get some kind of control over it so we don't have all these little strands branching out everywhere. You're moving back to Allie's side again. You bought 3 transfers now, and now that they are on sale, you're just waiting for research and bank cleaning stuff to be done, and then that faction change is back to buy, and I need to move 1 guild as well, and that service is also on hold at the moment. Yeah, we moved servers once with the guild that we had when the husband was playing. There had been a little bit of guild drama that some people had started in our guild, which was kind of funny and kind of sad in a way, because they knew what we were when they joined. I'm very upfront about that, because the husband and I ran the guild together. We're like, we don't mind raiding, and we would kind of like to raid, but we will never be hardcore raiders. That's not our goal here. Our goal is to just kind of dick around with friends, and if we get some raid bosses done, cool. If we don't, cool. At least, you know, we got to hang out and spend some time trying to learn something new with each other. We were very realistic about the learning curve of some people in the guild. Everybody learns at a different rate. Some people get more distracted than others. Some people have other reasons for why they're a little bit slow to hit raid queues and whatnot, whether it be internet, computer issues, just brain processing times. You know, everybody moves at a different rate, and we were okay with that, because we knew that we also had our own personal limitations. You know, fine, whatever. One group, a family group, ended up joining. Well, actually, there had been some drama before that, that had made us start putting our own raid group together casually after the first round of drama happened from outside forces. Then a family group had joined, and the husband's schedule and my schedule didn't jive with the majority of the rest of the groups at that time. So I was like, okay, fine, you can raid, just, you know, remember, we're casual. We're not gonna get angry if something doesn't happen. You know, and good luck, and I'll join in when my schedule permits, because we were working night shift, and I think they were raiding in the middle of the afternoon when husband and I had to sleep, because that's when the other people were available at that time. I'm like, that's fine, you know, whatever. Well, I got laid off I wasn't supposed to have been laid off according to my, the director of the department that I was in. It came from above them. I was like, okay, well, now what? He's like, well, I'm fighting to get your job back. He's like, don't get another job yet. And I'm like, well, bills, sir. And he's like, well, just sit on unemployment and I'm gonna get your job back. And I'm like, okay. You're sure? Because, you know, I have bills to pay. And they're like, no, I'm gonna get your job back. I'm gonna fight like hell to get it back. Because you were never supposed to be, laid off. He goes, I need you in the department. He goes, I never okayed this. I was like, alright. So I was laid off for about a total of 6 months. And he finally negotiated me getting rehired, but I had to come back as part-time instead of full-time. And so my pay rate was different when I came back. It was a whole thing. But at least it got me back in the door, I guess. So when I was laid off, I had time to start raiding with them again. And, you know, it was alright. I didn't really know the person that had taken over as raid leader very well. But I was getting to know them a little bit better. I was like, alright, that's fine. And they were part of, like, a whole family unit of, like, four individuals, I think, that came over. I was like, okay, that's fine. And plus a couple of our regular people were running in there with them, and they said they were fine. I was like, alright, I'll take your word at it. Things were fine. And then we moved and schedules changed, and then I was able to raid with them more regularly. And somehow, I have no idea how, I got thrust into being raid leader again. And I'm like, I don't want to be raid leader, just tell me what I need to do. I was like, alright. And they knew, this family unit knew, that we were casual raiders. We never claimed we were trying to go for world firsts or be in the top whatever percentile of raiders. I knew that was unrealistic for the way that our members ran. Not putting them down or anything, I just knew that you could tell when you're the main healer for a raid group, you can tell based off of how many times you're like, fuck, and you're trying to save somebody that's standing in shit, or they're not running out to drop debuffs, or, you know, they're missing callouts, or they're dying within the first 10 seconds of a fight. You can tell where the group level is, okay? Especially when people aren't prepared for a boss fight and have no idea what they're doing. Nothing against them, because we were supposed to be a casual group. And I was fine with that.
Oh, our tree's coming out very nice.
You think?
Yeah.
Looks a little wonky, but...
Well, yeah, it's a little wonky, but still, you can tell what's intended.
I guess real trees are a little wonky a lot of the times on their own anyway, so... Probably be a little weird if it was too perfect. So, where was I? Oh, right. So, we were working our way through normal stuff. I don't even remember what fucking expansion it was now. Was it Pandaria? What came out before WoD? Panda?
Yeah, it was Pandaria.
Okay. So, we were working through Panda raids. And we were doing okay. Some fights were taking a little bit longer to learn. And we had a retro raid night, one night a week, or one night a month or something, where we would go back and do old stuff. And the dude that used to be the raid leader, who suddenly wasn't raid leading, and I'm not even sure why he wasn't raid leading anymore. I don't know if he just didn't have the time or didn't want to anymore. I don't know. He had been getting a little fussy about some things. And this was also when, oh, what the fuck was that add-on? When an add-on came in, it's either OQ or QQ, where people were...
Wasn't it OQC or something?
I don't remember. It was some add-on that people were using to...
It was the reason they put Raid Finder in eventually. It's what people were using instead of Raid Finder until they put in Raid Finder.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what brought Raid Finder in? I thought Raid Finder existed before then.
Not in the same way.
I thought that's what... No, Raid Finder was there. They brought in Group Finder.
Well, no. Raid Finder at the time was just like a post thing where you posted a raid that you wanted.
No, that was Group Finder.
Oh, excuse me. All right, Group Finder they had. This was before Raid Finder, which is the random low-level stuff.
There was Dungeon Finder, and then Raid, looking for Raid was already there, because it was a dumbed-down version where you didn't get the same stuff. Then people started using this add-on that put them in groups, cross servers. Then they put in the official looking for group thingy, where you could join other people. But this was an unofficial one that they were using, and guilds were using it to fill out empty spots to farm stuff. So this family group, or some of them, started joining this thing, and 2 of the other people in the group were also starting to use it in off raid times. And they were joining groups that were 25-man raids. We ran 10 when we were lucky, because not everybody showed up. So the one night we were setting up to rerun something, one of the palace ones, I can't remember which, and the old raid leader is like, you know, you're holding us back. We want to do heroic. We never do heroic anything. You're holding us back by not having us run heroic stuff. You know, we want to...
Well, they didn't start that until after things went wrong.
No. You weren't there for this. You were there that night. They gave me a bunch of shit about that I was holding them back.
Well, yeah, but the first heroic thing came up before that. Because it came up multiple times. That's why we gave up eventually.
Well, it happened, and I'm like, guys, we're not really ready yet. And the one is like, we need to be able to kill this on normal first, and that kind of placated them for a little bit. And then I was like, okay. And then they're like, well, no, we want to run heroic. I'm like, okay. The one night I got pissed off, and I was like, all right, fine, we'll run heroic. Does anybody know the fights on heroic? Dead silence. Nobody could answer my question. I'm like, okay, so you guys want to run something that you don't know how the fights go on it. How the hell is that going to work? The fights are different on heroic than they are on regular. They're like, well, we want to run heroic. And I'm like, all right, fine, we'll run heroic. Let's run heroic. We spent 3 hours on the first boss on heroic, and their group got fucking pissed because they kept dying and we couldn't down the boss. And I'm like, you're the guys? Can't be mad. You're the ones that wanted to do this on heroic. And I was telling you, we weren't ready. But, you know, they got all angry anyway. Well, then, and I have at least one hothead in the group that will get frustrated and just, you know, bail if things are not going well. I know this. We've experienced it before. So, it's another reason why I didn't want to jump into something I knew we weren't ready. And so they kind of backed off again after that a little bit, and I had been trying to make them do homework for raid, even on normal, because, you know, normal raid people, hardcore raid people that are getting, you know, your world first, your top 5-10% on your server, they're doing their homework. Everybody in the raid is doing their homework. They're looking up strats. They're looking up videos. They're reading all kinds of the guides and things. They have multiple ideas of how to approach a fight. And they spend more than one night a week raiding. So they like spend multiple nights a week raiding. This group only had one night available to do that, and I was fine with that because I only had 2 nights a week, and working overnight, it felt like I really only had 1 night off. So I'm like, okay. Half the time, the group didn't do their raid homework for the regular bosses. I had to double do work for it because I knew some people weren't gonna. And I'm like, and you guys talk a really big game, but you don't want to put up the effort. Like, what the fuck? And then, then there was a big blow up one night. We were stuck on the tower dragon boss in Siege of Overmar. I wish we had been streaming this.
Oh, I would have too, because then I could have pointed out, hey, look how much time you spent on the floor, mister. I'm the great mage.
Yeah, we would have had a recording of it then that we could have gone back and been like, hey.
There was one fellow that talked a big game about being a really good mage and getting really good DPS and all this other stuff. And then I finally got a chance to join in on this little thing, and rather than doing the usual thing where I tank for everybody else, I instead went and pulled out my mage and tromped his ass. And unlike him, I didn't die every time we had to move out of the AoE. He spent easily half of each fight dead.
To his credit, he did have a lazy eye, which prevented him from seeing some of the stuff and reacting to it in a timely manner. And that's fine, he can't help that. But don't talk shit like you're the greatest person that ever maged. When you do have limitations and stuff, and the people around you are seeing what's happening. They thought they were the shit because they were doing this stupid add-on where they were joining other groups and filling out the empty slots in a 25-man group where, let's face it, some fights, if the most of the raid group is geared and they're just farming like 1 or 2 pieces for some other guild members and you're in a 25-man group, you could fuck around and not be pulling your exact weight, and they were just looking for the slot to be filled, and you could be hiding in the back somewhere, or you could be dead a lot and they're just like, whatever, we just want to get through this, but you're getting credits for the fights completing. And so, oh, well, this group did it and they did it on 25, and I'm running with this guild now on 25 on this other server, and we have this on farm. And I'm like, really now? Okay. So our group had a really hard time with the standing in a straight line when the ball of doom was coming at us. The one dude's wife was like, look, because we had a couple of hunters in there, or we had 2 hunters in there, she was one of them. And she's like, well, if you're on a hunter, disengage. Don't run around in an arc to get behind everybody else. And it's not that difficult to run through everyone and stand in the back of the line so that the ball goes through everybody. And I'm like, yeah, we've been saying that all night, and now you're getting pissy and speaking up about it? I kid you not. She was in front of me and Russell. We were standing in the back. He was casting. I was healing. We were 2 healing this fight. I think we were 2 healing this fight.
Yes. We never really had more than 2 healers by then. Which
was a bitch. Well, the one person was DPS and heals, but I think they were DPSing that fight to try to get it down faster. And, I kid you not, she was standing in front of Russell and myself, and after that big dressing down she did of the entire guild in chat, she's on a hunter. She got the mark on her for the big ball of fire to come at her, and she ran in an arc around the entire line of people and didn't even get into the back of the line. I almost lost my shit, but I had a policy not to rip people apart in front of everybody. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Russell and I were losing our goddamn minds. We were yelling at each other. We're like, what the fuck did she just do? And we were like going off on each other about what the fuck she just did. And we're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, run behind everybody and you're gonna run in a fucking arc. Yeah, this group you really have is carrying you. You're not really helping to get it done. And I was just like, she totally did not just dress down this whole group. And then go against what she told everybody else they needed to do. And I was just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. We kept going. And we kept going, and the other healer was her husband. And he died, and he got pissed off, and he rage logged out. Because it was our last attempt of the night anyway. It came down to me and the 2 tanks, and then the second tank went down, and then it was me and our Death Knight tank. And we were pulling out everything out of our ass as much as possible. I went down, and then it was just him. And he was hanging on, he was self-healing, he was doing everything that he could. He went down, but the NPCs were still fighting. And the NPCs finished the fight, and everybody that didn't rage log out all got an achievement. And we were like, yes! And then one of the husband, was it the husband or the wife? They like lost their shit and killed everybody's excitement for us finally making some sort of progress and, you know, getting that fight down, because I was like, oh, we're saving this raid lockout, and we will save this raid lockout till the cows come home. And she just kind of killed everybody's happy moment, and I was just like, really? And shortly thereafter, the dude that had been raid leading, I guess we were getting ready for WAD to come in, or WAD was just coming in or something, and the old raid leader had sent me an in-game mail. He didn't even have the balls to actually have a conversation with me, and he's like, yeah, you've been holding us back. We want to run our own raid. We're gonna go back to the Horde side, or go back to our own family guild, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, and I just sat there staring at the screen. I'm like, you didn't even have the balls to talk to me. You're gonna send me like a 5-part in-game email about what a terrible guild leader, raid leader I am, when I'm sitting in the back watching everybody. Like, I'm trying to, like, I know where expectations should be. I don't want people getting frustrated and getting mad because we're playing over our expectations. Because we do have some people in the guild that would be like that. And some people are just looking, you know, to chill out with some friends. We get there. We don't want this to be a frustrating, miserable time. And I'm just like, what even is this? I was so mad. I was like, really? Yeah, it was all me, dude. Totally. You guys wouldn't even do the fucking work to show up on time. I kept giving your nephew multiple chances when he said he would show up, and then 5 minutes before raid, he's running out the door to go hang out with his girlfriend. And I'm like, didn't even bother telling anybody that he wasn't gonna make it after all for raid. And I'm like, I don't care that he was going out with his girlfriend, but then don't tell me that you're gonna show up and I'm expecting you to be there. Like, what the fuck?
I also feel the urge to point out, we weren't like, oh, you can't go when you guys make plans.
Yeah.
We weren't saying they couldn't go. We just asked them to tell someone.
Yeah, tell somebody that you're not gonna make it, something came up. So we're not sitting here for 2 hours waiting for you to show up and then you not show. Oh, what was that? Oh, thank you for the follow. So, they went to go do their own thing. Was it a follow or was it a sub? It was a follow. And I was like, alright, fine. You go do that. And half the guild had vanished anyway to life and things and stuff, so we hadn't really seen them. So we're like, you know what, let's just move the guild. And we moved servers. And from what I heard, they never really did anything, and I think they all stopped playing shortly thereafter. And I was like, okay, sure. Totally my fault. Totally. But we had other previous raid drama with someone else in a different guild that we had kind of been talked into partnering with.
Well, they weren't total garbage at the time.
Some of them were not.
I realized that one person was a cast iron bitch, but...
Some of them were not. The one person definitely had some issues that they needed to work through. And taking everybody down with them was certainly not the way to handle her own issues. We might have been a little cruel in how we handled it, but we were fucking pissed and tired of the bullshit. And she did not like me at all. She had something, I don't know what it was. I don't know if she was mad that sometimes I out-priested her. I don't know what it was. There were multiple times where I swear she was trying to make me look bad so that she could tell the other people that I couldn't come because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. It was very odd. She would start a fight. We would pull, and she was that group's raid leader. She would start it, and then within 5 seconds into the fight, almost every time, it seemed like, at times, oh, my WoW crashed. Like, okay. Every fight? Seems a little strange. And, but her vent was working fine, and everything, it wasn't garbled or nothing. And then there would be other times where she didn't have a problem on a fight. It was odd. And she wouldn't get back in until like halfway through the fight. And then she'd be almost surprised that I was single healing the raid group because it was me and her most nights. She would be like almost shocked that, you know, oh, the raid group's still alive. Yeah. They are. Fancy that. And she seemed to have a thing for Russell. And I know he thinks I'm crazy, but she constantly would be messaging him, can you come tank something for us? Because he was running a tank. She just wanted him to tank for them. And then on the raid stuff, he's like, well, I want my wife to come. And she would begrudgingly allow that at times. But there was one night where things came to a head. And I kept telling Russell, I'm like, something's weird with her and me. I don't know what it is. It's very strange. And he didn't believe me. I was like,
well, I believe you something was weird about her.
Well, no, you didn't believe me with the fact where I kept saying it felt like she had it out for me, or there was something with her where she didn't like me. And I know not everybody's gonna like everybody, but I hadn't really done anything to her, and I wasn't sure what her deal was. And see, I think we need just a little bit more on that. And it was just bizarre. Now remember, we're gonna end up cutting part of this off here, so it's just very strange. The one night I was up early, I think it was our day off. I couldn't sleep anymore. I got up. Guild was popping. Guild chat was a mess of messages flying around, and I was trying to help somebody that was newer to the guild, trying to sort out the next weapon they should get, because they were trying to learn how to play and stuff, and they weren't sure what they should do. And I was like, well, the husband's an engineer, let me see if there's anything we can make you. So I popped into his account. So I had my account up and his account up because I was tabbing back and forth between the two. And I was trying to flip through what he could make and talking back and forth in guild chat. And while I'm trying to get this sorted for this dude to see if there was anything that we had that would work for him that he wanted to try, someone whispers Russell's account, and I'm like, what the fuck? Because my brain was trying to focus on what was going on in guild, and I look and it's her, and I'm like, what? And then she's like, hey, you got a minute? Or can I ask you a question or something? And I'm like, alright. I said, you know, this is his wife. I'm looking for something on his account. I'm helping a guild member at the moment. Give me a few minutes. I've got to get this sorted first, and then I will get back to you. And, so I was, like, talking to the guild. I'm like, she just messaged Russell's account out of the blue. And I'm like, what the hell? And, I finished sorting, the thing for the other guildie. I'm like, okay, fine. I was like, so should I be nice about this, or, you know, should I be a bitch about it? And the one dude was really starting to not like her, and he's like, be a bitch. And I'm like, he goes, I don't give a shit. And I was like, well, I know you don't. And I was like, well, no, I should be nice, because Russell will get mad if I'm snippy. So, because I know she'll tell him if I'm snippy. So I, because that's the kind of person she was. So I'm sitting there, and I finally, it was like 20 minutes, and I finally get back to her, and I'm like, okay, sorry. Was sorting something for a guildie. This is his wife, like I said earlier. I had to pop onto his account to look for something. What's up? And she's like, yeah, can he come tank something for us? I was like, what? She's like, yeah, we need him to come tank something for us. Can he come tank it? I was like, well, he's asleep. It's our night off. He's sleeping in. I'm not going to wake him up for that. He'll be mad at me if I wake him up to come do that. So maybe later when he gets up, but not right now. I'm not waking him up. She's like, no, you need to go wake him up. And I'm like, no. And she says, what the fuck did she do? Oh, she goes, oh, you're just keeping him from us. I was like, excuse me? And I was like, what? And I think I yelled, that bitch. Like,
yes, that is exactly what I woke up to. That bitch.
Because I was like, what? I'm like, first off, it's my husband. Okay? First off. Secondly, I'm not keeping him from you. The man's asleep. I'm not waking him up to come tank something in WoW for you. You can wait a while, or find another tank, or roll your own tank and go tank it yourself. I was like, what? Because she was a bit of a night person too, so her being up late, like, he would have been up in probably another hour or two on his own, to be perfectly honest. It's not like he wasn't gonna be up soon, and I'm just like, what? You want me to wake the man up on his night off to come tank something for you? Are you fucking serious right now? And I was like, yeah, no, that ain't happening. Because I knew Russell would be pissed off at me, and then he wouldn't be able to get back to sleep. So I'm like, yeah, no. We're not, what we're not doing is that. And then Russell got up and started talking to her. And then she was as sweet as could be to him when he could see the whispers on my screen of what she was saying to me. And because at that point I had logged out of his account and logged back onto mine and started messaging her on my screen. Because I didn't want to be on his account any longer than I had to be. And I was just like, oh my god. And she had a few choice words for me, but was being all sickeningly sweet and flirty with him. And I'm like, what the hell? And in the meantime, Russell was going back and having me screenshot every single fucking thing she was saying to me. And then we posted it on our guild website and went and told the members of their guild, hey, we just had quite the conversation with your raid leader that you all seem to be so infatuated with. Why don't you go take a look at our website and see what the kind of person she really is? And, I think that night that raid team might have imploded. Because she had said a few things about some of the other people on that raid team while she was talking to us. Probably not the wisest move. But, I was just like, wow. Wow. This is how you want to do this, okay. Like, this is how we're gonna do it then. You can kind of see that tree. So it's a little difficult with all the dark tree action happening in here, but she was something. And there was a bunch of other questionable things that she had done over the years. She had been trying to steal my guild members, talking them to come over to join her raid group, telling them that I was a terrible person, and this, that, and another thing, and
I don't remember her saying that. I just remember her saying that we weren't raiding and they are, so you should come over here.
No, I think she had been, to Dylan, I think she had been a little extra, because Dylan's like, yeah, no. Because Dylan wasn't going to get involved with the drama. He's like, no, I'm staying here. She tried to pull the one over and was constantly flirting with them, and he got really creeped out and ended up leaving our guild and didn't end up talking to her either. And he's like,
I think we ended up getting a couple of them, didn't we?
We picked up like one or two from that guild for a while, and then they ended up leaving for whatever. But, you know, we were a casual raid group, and they were more of a guild that raids, and it's like, yeah, no.
Did you tell the story yet about how we were totally done with Nax?
No, I didn't.
So, alright. This is with that same raid group, okay?
You might have to talk a little louder or come closer.
You're okay, Momo. Eat up.
Oh, that's Momo behind me. Good boy, Momo.
So, this is with that same raid group, okay? We've been doing Naxxramas. Again, this is back during Lich King. They re-released it. This was after they came out with the actual Icecrown Citadel raid, because they were late to the show and we were just getting started, and I ended up joining a raid and we ended up doing that. And we've been doing this for months and months and months. And we finally got to the point where we finished Naxxramas completely, and we finally got to the last boss, and we've been fighting the last boss a couple times now without any success, and we finally downed it. And it drops the priest helmet piece, I believe it was, or shoulders, I can't remember which.
It was a weapon.
Was it? No, it was a trade-in piece.
Oh, maybe it was the head token. Yeah, it was a set piece
trade-in. But, so if it drops that, my wife is playing a priest.
So is she. And they roll off on it, and she gets it, and she immediately says, oh, we can take this off the farm list. And the entire guild uproared in vent. Like,
yes.
They all lost their minds and started yelling. It was funny as shit that her own guild raid group was like, what the hell? They were like, what are you talking about? And other people were like, we still need stuff from in here.
Yeah, because keep in mind, that's the first time we downed them, which means nobody else in the group had gotten any of the loot from that boss. And honestly, they were missing loot from several other bosses because we were getting them done only when we absolutely had to, and we were trying to get to the end. There were times where we would farm other bosses and not try to get to the end, and just try to get loot for people. And just the fact that she said that, and meanwhile, people were pissed because she got it, and she disconnected like, through most of the fights.
Mm-hmm.
My wife went and healed Naxxramas for a big portion of it.
Yeah, that was fucking tough as shit.
Yeah, priest OP.
The one night I actually had like 102 fever and I'm sitting there fucking trying to heal because they needed a healer and I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was like my first time in that raid and I'm trying to heal people and she fucking kept DCing and I'm like, Russell, I don't know what the fuck is going on. He's like, you're doing fine.
Yeah, she carried the entire Naxxramas group. And people were a little upset that Miss Disconnect got loot before she did because she was literally carrying the heals.
Yeah, I was
and
kind
they
of pissed
all
myself.
knew it. They had discussions about it.
Oh, I didn't know they had the discussions about it. I was just pissed that I didn't get anything.
Oh, no. People had discussions.
I didn't know that part.
Yes. People were pissed that you didn't get the loot because you're the one who actually carries the group and gets shit done.
Yeah, it was just so frustrating because like almost every single fight. Is he alright?
Yeah,
just the usual? Okay. Just DCing like 10 seconds into the fight. Oh, my WoW crashed. Did it really crash? It is so bad and so sad when people... Yeah, it was stupid. It was just so dumb. And I'm like, really? We're gonna do this now. And the funny part is she had a shaman healer too. But one of her other friends in the raid sometimes would show up. Sometimes they were the third healer. And sometimes they were just DPS. And I was like... I will say that one fight in Nax with the damn... it was a monster that... it wasn't a dog. It was some kind of weird stitched together monster that put a debuff on you. That you had to like walk to somewhere in the room to be dispelled to drop it. And it left a giant green gas cloud on the ground. That was a bitch. Because you're trying to heal the people, trying to debuff the people, listening for when they're calling out, saying that they're in the debuffy spot. That was a bitch of a fight. Yeah, and then she had the nerve to say, "Oh, you're keeping your husband from us. Well, we need him to come take something." I was like, bitch, I think you need to find another tank. Yeah, no, he was terrible. I hated doing him. And I was still nervous about being a raid healer because I was in discipline. I wasn't in holy, so that was when discipline was still sort of OP. I don't like what they've done to discipline in these current more recent expansions. I liked it better when they were a bubble priest and could, heal. I mean, it was nice that they can kind of do some DPS, but now they've kind of made them as where DPS is the main way they heal, and people don't have any ounce of self-preservation when they're in dungeon groups. They just stand and shit and tunnel vision and then get mad why the disc priest didn't save the entire group, and it's like, how am I supposed to target heal you and DPS to heal everybody else when you refuse to stop standing and shit and need individualized attention? Like, what? So I gave up raiding unless I could solo it on my own to farm for shit. And I have a bitch of a time soloing that stupid tower dragon boss in SOO on my priest. And now I kind of don't care so much about farming for mounts and things, because I think my time in WoW is probably slowly waning.
Well, you haven't done anything except for the challenges for, like, years now.
Yeah.
So, you know, no shock. We don't really have the willpower to try to go find a raid group or something. And you don't really care about doing that anymore anyhow.
Not really.
There's nothing for you in it. And the story ate shit and died.
So, yeah, there's, like, other stuff that I want to do, other games I want to invest my time in. New things I want to look at. I want to work more on my art stuff. Oh, I might, like, resub here and there once I get my Bloodthirsty goal completed. But I think my time in WoW is numbered. What do you have?
Sorry for crinkle noises. I have a pack of gum.
Oh.
My apologies.
You're alright.
Wow, so I don't have to get the special edition of the next expansion this time, huh?
No. I just don't care anymore. I think I'm just fucking burnt out.
Well, it's surely not a game to play for the story anymore, so...
I also don't like that everything's like fucking data mined to hell now. There's no real surprise. I mean, there was not much of a surprise when I have to beta test anyway for the challenge stuff, but...
Yeah, my days in WoW ended back during, what was it, Warlords? Was Warlords a time travel story where it wasn't a time travel story?
Where it became an alternate universe story instead of actual time travel like it was supposed to be.
Yeah, when they managed to fumble the simplest, like... The nice thing about time travel stories is that you can tinker with shit, especially if you're meeting the past people.
I think they realized that they were going to have severe consequences for doing that, and then they decided to just...
Yeah, I don't know why they backed out, but they made it a dimension travel story, which is very different, and it just wasn't interesting, because why would you not have something like, say, Velen meeting Velen? You know, because they set up this big elaborate thing to make Velen not the leader of the alternate dimension Draenei, but he was alive at the start, and Velen in the original world was, you know, part of the process of getting people over there. Why wouldn't you have them meet?
I don't know.
In fact, I have trouble imagining that the original WoW story writing crew, if they were going to do a time travel thing, would pass on such an opportunity.
Well, there's a lot of speculation about what was going on with some of the original WoW writing now.
But yeah, at that point, I never played the challenges. I couldn't get into them. I find them mind-numbing. I don't know how you've managed to do it this long.
I don't know either. Pure insanity, I don't know.
And at that point, I learned that their stories were going to be garbage. And boy, was I glad I stopped them, because it certainly didn't improve.
You can tell he's not a fan right now.
They broke their own cosmology and their own afterlife for their setting so that they could tell a mediocre story.
To you. Some people like the lore right now.
No!
Some people do.
No, it is pathetic.
In your opinion.
No. Okay, here's the thing, okay?
No, in your opinion.
Yes, but here's the thing. They kept people hooked on that game for so long because their lore was quote-unquote good. They told interesting stories. They broke their own setup so they can tell a very generic story, which only purpose seems to be so that they can make people go, oh, Sylvanas wasn't so evil all along.
There's speculation surrounding the Sylvanas story. That's a whole nother...
I'm waiting for Arthas to come back.
I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna...
No. They featured him in some of the videos they did before the thing started.
Was it Arthas or was it Uther? Because...
Both. They mentioned and featured both.
I haven't really been following the lore at this point. I've just kind of given up.
And I'm just waiting for Sylvanas, like, saving Arthas from Uther or some stupid shit to justify why she's not a monster.
I thought she dies.
I have no idea. Like, that means much.
I thought the jailer killed her.
Well, you see, that doesn't matter because we don't know what their cosmology is. It might not matter.
This whole expansion's just been really weird. Just, I don't know. It's been strange. I've been struggling this expansion, like, just the whole story has just kind of... I've long since lost the plot. I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm just keeping my head down. And just working on my challengers and all that. So, frankly, you've been trying to figure out why you're still playing. One day I want to do this, next day I'm like, nah, I give up, and I really don't want to play at all, and I was never big on the lore, so I'm not invested in that side, and it might be why you're still here. It could be, like, I tried to follow the lore a little bit, and it was more fun, and more, engaging in the earlier expansions, for me, personally. But this expansion, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. And I'm lost. I am a lost muffin in the land of all of the muffin toppings, and I don't know what the fuck is going on. I tried to understand the lore at this point, but I think I kind of lost it halfway through BFA, and now I'm just like, how did we even get here at this point? I'm sure they have some idea of where they're going with this, but these pine trees are really difficult. Especially when I'm on a dark background and I'm losing where I'm at, but that's okay. But I don't know. Yeah, I think I want to do other stuff. I want to work on our other sim games. I've got other games that are coming out soon that I want to play. Like Coral Island's supposed to be out sometime this year. I've got beta access to that. When it does come out in beta, it's still in alpha. I want to check out Lens Island. There's a couple of other farm games I want to check out. I want to look at the Ranchers. There's another farmy one that I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to look at Foundation. I know that's been out for a while, but I still want to look at it. Right now I'm watching Geekism do a playthrough of it on YouTube. I want to keep going in Parkitect for a while. I might go back to Planet Coaster, and we might do some of that too. I want to keep going in Planet Zoo. Like, there's plenty of things I want to do. I want to try to do some more art on the channel. There's a bunch of stuff I want to do, and if I don't have time to stream it, I would at least like to record it and put it up on the YouTube side of things. Because we do have the YouTube What was that? Oh, that was my tweezers. I just flipped them. Filling them halfway across the place here. So, I mean, there's definitely stuff I want to do. I want to put time in Flamingo Falls, which is our sandbox. Our sandbox Planet Zoo speed build that I'm doing. Because I can't stream all the time, because husband and friend get together some nights and do stuff, so I don't want to take time away from them. And I need some time not talking too, so time that I would be up later at night working on challengers, I could be recording stuff for the channel. You don't have a game you want to play other than WoW, you just want to focus on our stuff, and you're thinking of starting to stream as well, so yeah, trying to make that decision is taking some time. Well, you know, take your time. You know, just do what feels right. My YouTube adventures started out with me some time ago, attempting to make a WoW machinima when they were the shit. So I made 2. No, I made 3. I was in the process of making a 4th one, but then the program I was using kinda ate shit and tanked, and they like updated it, and then I was having a hard time learning the update because it had changed quite a bit, and then I kind of was like, fuck this. This is too much time consuming stuff, and then life got busy, and I kind of dropped that for a while. But my original YouTube name was Meet My Totem, after one of my shamans. So one of the videos on my channel, which you might have to dig to find, is WoW Just Dance. That is mine. I am Meet My Totem, even though the channel name got changed to NiseyBGN. I think in the pre-credits on that video it says about Meet My Totem, but that's still me. But yeah, like, so much stuff I want to do is just so involved. And then I didn't really do anything on YouTube for a while, and then I eventually started streaming.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they updated the software that you used to do that stuff, so, and you basically had to relearn it from fresh.
Yeah, and that was quite a bitch. Especially considering Just Dance took me... Oh god. Just Dance took me almost 9-10 months to make. Because, you know, it wasn't the only thing I was working on. I was also going to work, and we were raiding around in our free time, and just I had other commitments everywhere, so I was really only working on it like maybe 1 or 2 nights a week, or whenever I had the mental energy to work on it. Circus was the first one we did, and you can tell it was the first one we did. It was really rough. It was really rough. I know it looks rough. I'm kind of embarrassed about how rough it looks, and I kind of want to private it at this point, but It's still getting some views. Occasionally. I think the Just Dance one's up to 157,000 views. But it's also like 11 years old. So that's not all that surprising. There it is. I was like, I know there's a little wispy guy here somewhere. And he managed to get away. I'm just reflattening out the back because it's starting to get a little bunchy because of all of the layers on here. It's pretty stiff, at least up in here. I'll be so glad when we can trim up this edge so it doesn't look quite so all over the place. Alright, so again, I'm using acrylic yarn that I've floofed with a pet grooming sticker brush. The better way to go would be roving. Or wool roving. It sticks to itself a little bit better. But my budget was not going to allow for all of the colors that I was going to need to do this. To get it in roving, so this is why we went this way. And I'm basically using some of the cheapest yarn I could find. It's acrylic yarn from Joann's. It's their house brand called Big Twist Value. They've got a couple different subsections of Big Twist, but this is their value line. It's doing all right. Doing what we need it to do. So I'm alright with that. I actually thought of just buying a mega box of white roving and trying to dye it, but then I was like, oh, I'll probably not get it dyed the right color, and then I didn't know if it would shrink because it would get wet, which it probably would because some people do wet felting. And I was like, yeah, I probably don't want to. That's probably a whole nother level of bullshittery that's above my head. So let's just go with the more simple version while I figure out if I want to keep doing this. And I do want to keep doing this art medium. I am enjoying it. Even if it does take a bit longer to get through stuff, we're still going to get back to painting at some point. Especially when I don't have to spend my Mondays catching up on challengers that didn't get leveled throughout the week. You're using variegated yarn for a hippo you're crocheting at the moment. You were thinking if that might be something you could use for this. It might be cool when it's fluffed. Yeah, you know, like some of the variegated stuff might look pretty neat depending on what you're doing. And then, you know, you'll have like multiple different colored sections in there. A friend had sent me some wool roving that she had gotten for one project, and it turned out that it didn't work out for that project, so she sent it along to me since she wasn't going to end up using it. And it's not bad. I actually used it in the background on the lighthouse. So I had just pulled the colored sections out that I was looking for, but that's like all one variegated, not the aqua color, but like the purple and all this here up was that variegated roving that she sent me, so it might be pretty interesting. Fluffed out in the variegated stuff. Crunch, 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 crunch. Sorry, some of that looked like it had gotten a little bit messy up into there. Where's my piece here? Oh, what time is it? Oh, okay. Again, you all don't have to do this. I'm just doing this because it's helping it lay flat again. Keeping it from getting too bunched up. Like right here, there's kind of like a divot because we had put so many layers in here, but I'm okay with that because it kind of makes it sink back further. Oh wait, that's not the color we want. We want this color. Grab the right color. So yeah, I mean, depending on what, let me see, do I have the raw, well not the raw, but do I have, I've got to clean so bad. So this is what she had sent me, or some of what she had sent me, so I just kind of pulled out, I like snipped sections and then kind of pulled out what I was looking for. So I still have a good bit of that I can do something with. It makes very pretty sky. And I also used portions of this on the little mermaid project I had done. Now that I touch stuff over there, everything's gonna fall. I've got to clean this whole house. There it is. I was like, I was pulling a strand out. What did I do with it? So, you know, it's not bad. So, I mean, it could be kind of interesting to work with the variegated colors. And I still have some of my other roving that I got when I first picked up my stuff. But I need to hold on to some of that because I didn't have enough money to pick up a ball or two of orange. And I realized that I need orange for a couple of our upcoming projects. So I was like, oh shit. I thought I had put that color in the cart, and I definitely didn't end up with it. And going back and looking at my cart and my order, I didn't end up grabbing it. I think I did the first pass through, and I had my shopping cart up, and I didn't close the website because I wanted to make sure that's what I definitely wanted to do, and I was like, well, let me sleep on it. And in the morning when I woke up, my computer was off, and I was like, why is my computer off? And turns out, Cow the cat had helpfully stepped on the power button on my tower during his morning exploration of my desk to see what he could get in trouble with. And I wasn't able to fully recover the shopping bag. And I was like, oh, fuck. So then I had to go back through. And I guess I missed grabbing that one. I had been writing them down, and then, I don't know, maybe I decided that I didn't have enough to get that because of shipping. And half the colors they didn't have for curbside pickup at the store closest to me, and I really didn't want to pass up that yarn sale, so I was like, I guess we're gonna have to do ship to me. Oh goodness, we're gonna have to do 2 more of these crazy ash trees. It would really help if I could hit the green line that I need to hit here, though. See, that would be most helpful. Doggo's here, my mom. Making dinner. Just a few stray strands there that I just wanted to get tagged down there. Now, let's see, I think we have a little bit more to go on this tree. Alright, so we'll probably need to pull out... No, Bob, I want to see the other tree. Can we get like a wide shot here? Oh god, what's he gonna do? Oh, he didn't highlight those 2 trees, really? Ooh. Sorry, we're advancing real quick. Oh god, we've got to put a cabin in. It's gonna be a squished cabin. Oh, well, his is kind of squished too, so I won't feel so bad about that. His is a little bit short. Okay, so he doesn't... I wanted to get a head-on view, so we're just gonna quick tap through here. Are we not gonna... I want to see how far... Oh, he does come back. Oh, fuck. So that's like an olive green. I don't have... Well, do I have that color? It's a little bit brighter than this, though. I don't know. Oh, you know what? This one might be close to that. You okay, Zuzu? You're okay. I mean, I guess we could use this one. Alright. See, this is sometimes why we have to advance, because he surprises us with these things. guess he realized he didn't. I just want to see the other trees. No, the other. Oh, God. Oh, God. Right over top of everything, Bob. Excuse me. At least that tree's got a bit more air on it, and I think we'll have an easier time, I think, of doing that one. He's gonna make me go to the very end to see the trees that are on this right side. Okay, so we have to come down a little bit further on our bright green. So yeah, I mean, he did leave that gap on that side, like, without anything filled in back there, but I felt like for what we were doing, we kind of had to put something back there just to try to fill the space in a little bit. Okay. So yeah, I did have to advance that pretty far. Well, I had to basically take it to the end. So apologies about the quick speed through on that. You guys didn't hear what he was saying anyway, because I have it muted for you guys. So if you guys do want to watch the whole tutorial from him in its entirety, it is on the Bob Ross YouTube channel. And I had the link somewhere in the chat, but there it is. It's actually up there right now. But it's season 3 of The Joy of Painting, and it is episode 1. I'm actually really excited to attempt episode 2. I think that's going to be a very pretty challenge in this medium. Because episode 2 is one of his black canvases. Now, we could do it on black felt and put in our other colors around it. I think I'm just gonna go with whatever color and put black yarn down and then go from there, because I think that'll work out a little bit better for me. Personally, but that one will be quite interesting. But we're not there yet. We still have another couple of weeks on this guy. And I do apologize that these projects do take a little bit longer, but you know what? I think that's half the fun, is getting to spend time with it and then getting some time to think about what we've done, stepping back, thinking about how we want to approach from there. Alright, we're going to leave a little bit of that dark on the bottom. We'll get that all tapped in. So, not the straightest trees, not the best looking trees, but in the words of Bob, trees aren't always straight. And if they're straight all the time, they start to look like telephone poles. These definitely are not telephone pole tree material. So these trees can rest assured that they will not be turned into telephone poles. They're a little too squiggly. Right, this one I'm going to have to leave out so I can find it. Alright, now our trees on this side. Now, these ones, let's reverse this a bit. Oh wow, look at that. The paint's coming right off the canvas. Isn't that fascinating? Okay, so I felt like it was that easy to undo things. Alright, so he takes them down to pretty much the bottom of this section. The inner tree is taller. So let's go ahead and get that snaked up and stretched out a bit. Just so it's not too terribly thick of a trunk that we have to try to maintain here. Alright, so I'm gonna... Where do we want to plop you down? You should probably... Because we've got that other bit of tree that's gonna come in, right? So... Yeah, we need room for that. So I guess we'll put you about here. I think. And this I'm gonna try to use as my guideline. We might have a better time of seeing our tree over here on this side. Maybe. We will see how that goes. Try to get all those green little strandy guys all worked into there. All right. Let's kind of smooth you out a bit. All right. Now we're gonna just kind of offset you a little bit on the pad. Alright, so definitely want to try to make our little yarn snake here. And then we'll just kind of start filling in this guy. Sorry if my hand's in the way. See what we can make happen over here. As we get all sorts of crooked already. I'll just double back a little bit to fill that in. If I can grab it, it would be good. Fingers don't want to grab onto anything anymore today. All right. Let's tuck that little bit that's left into there. I'm gonna pop that up just a little. Let's flatten out that section a bit. So it's starting to sink in a little. All right. Let's see. This section just has all sorts of little strandy guys coming off of it here. I will say these are a lot easier to paint than they are to put in this medium. That's for certain. And we can have a little bit of the background poking through there at times. Give it a little more of an airy feel, I suppose. All right. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. Ah! Fiber everywhere. Now with the roving, you can kind of touch like a wet paper towel or something just to get your fingers damp. Like a wet rag or something. Not like a sopping wet rag, but you know, a damp rag, just to get a little bit of moisture on your fingers, and then that can sometimes help to shape this guy a little bit. If you're having trouble getting it to behave. Sorry about the scratches on the back of my hand. I was playing with the cat. And that particular cat likes to have her claws out at all times, and I didn't realize she had got me quite that bad. She loves to play. And she purrs so loud when she is ripping our hands a new one. She's a little bit of a crazy one, though. But she does sort of have a demonic smiley face pattern in her fur on her stomach. So I'm not really all that surprised. It's at the very least an extremely mischievous smiley face on her stomach. Oh, hello. Thank you for the raid. Yes, the life of a cat owner. Very much so. We still need to get that raid alert working. We need to get it put in. But welcome, welcome. Today is art day here at the Flamingo Pond. And we are doing some dry needle felting. Where we are painting with the wool instead of making figurines. And we are also following a Bob Ross tutorial, or we're attempting to felt along with a Bob Ross tutorial. We'll put it that way. It's definitely been a challenge, because there's a lot of things he can get away with paint that we can't quite exactly get away with the fiber. So we have to throw a few more steps in there. You're working on some mixed media and creating flowers. Very nice, very nice. I'm okay. It's looking beautiful so far. I've always been curious about how needle felting works. Well, I'm still a bit of a noob, I guess you would say, as far as needle felting goes. I've seen a few videos from other people doing it on YouTube, and I was like, I want to try that. Let's use that finger that's protected. We've learned what happens when we don't use the fingers that are not protected. So, I mean, you have your little needle here. Let me see if we can get that up into the camera. And there's little notches cut into the needle. It's probably not going to pick up because this camera doesn't have autofocus on it. But I'm not sure if that's getting picked up or not. There's little notches cut in. And as you push the needle down, it grabs your fiber and kind of interweaves it into your base. So you're kind of merging the layers of fiber. Yes, have to protect the fingers. I've actually gone through the finger protectors with this. I didn't really hurt myself too much. It was just like a tiny little skin prick. But it would have gone a lot deeper had we not had the finger protectors on. So you definitely want those on. Because I wouldn't say they're barbs on the needle, but they're definitely notches cut into the needle. So if it goes too far in your finger, pulling that out in reverse is not going to be a pleasant experience. So you definitely want to use the finger protectors. Not sure if they come in other colors. This was just the color they came in the kit that I picked up. And there's different gauge needles, different tools, handles that hold more than one needle. We have an option of an 8 needle or the single needle. I could pick up a handle that would do smaller multi-needles, but I just haven't because I kind of prefer the single guy. I have more control over him, but this is the big scary guy. He's got 8 needles in there. I don't use this one too often. I think this one's more maybe more appropriate if you're doing the figurines. But so it doesn't really fit for what we're doing. I will use it sometimes just to do like a full pass over an area just to make sure I've got all of the little strandy guys tacked down. But we keep him wrapped up in his bubble wrap container, his bubble wrap sheath, so that we don't injure ourselves on him, and he usually stays in his little toolbox most of the time, just so nothing goes wrong with him. And most people will use wool roving. That is a scary one. Yeah, he's definitely intimidating. He's kind of heavy too, so he actually tires my hand out when I use him too much. So I'm like, I'll just go back to the single one. He's a lot lighter, and he's a lot easier to use. But yeah, a lot of people use wool roving. I'm using acrylic yarn. My budget said, you're not doing this project with wool roving. Because of the amount of colors that we need. Because, we can't really blend yarn like you can paint to come up with an entirely new shade. You will see the shade strands in there, or wool rather. So I went with acrylic yarn. Can you throw me one of those yarn balls in that top bucket? Doesn't matter which color.
Yarn balls or the big rolls?
Well, skeins.
Sorry, it's not a ball, so I was kind of
Well,
confused.
no, I didn't ball them. I didn't have enough room to ball them. If I had had the storage space to ball them, I would have. But, got all kinds of stuff that's accumulating. Area fuzz. So, just your regular thing of yarn. This is acrylic yarn. This is Value, Big Twist Value line from Joann Fabrics. They had a yarn sale back in January where it was 50% off. So I had read that you can use acrylic wool, which is what this is, or acrylic yarn, excuse me. So you just cut out some strands to whatever length you're comfortable working on. And then it is a lot more prep. I will say that. It is a lot more prep, especially if you're doing a multicolor project. But so you cut off a strand, or however many strands you're comfortable working with. I would do more than one. I would do like maybe 5 or 6, maybe up to 10. And so you hold that in one hand. You take your sticker brush. This is a pet grooming brush. Those of you that have dogs, you know what this is. Or dogs that have double coats. You use it to get the undercoat out of like your collies, your Akitas, maybe your Huskies, your Corgis, you know. It's just a dog grooming brush. Get that on the pet aisle. It's got the little tiny metal spikes that are like at a weird bent angle on there. And then you brush it out. You hold your strands. It's going to be a little weird with just the one strand here, but you just run it through the brush and it untwists it. You will get some fuzz that gets caught in the brush. That's fine. You can either rebrush it or just throw it in your pile to use. And it will eventually, where's my strand? Here it is. It eventually fluffs it out. And it'll look like this. And then you can felt with that. Now, you wouldn't necessarily be able to do the figurines with this. I think I read that you'd have to use the wool roving as the core of your figurine to give this something to stick to, because this doesn't like to stick to itself necessarily. I haven't tried to do the figurines, so I don't know how much of a disaster that would be with just the acrylic. But for this, it works fine. So you gotta head out. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Oh yes, thank you. You have a good day too. Appreciate you popping in. Appreciate the raid. And we work on this on Sundays. We do some form of art. So you have a great day. And thanks for popping in. Oh right, we still have a piece down here. So we'll just work on getting that tapped in. But I have been finding that this goes a pretty good ways. I've had to top off a couple of my Ziploc bags on some of the colors that we've been using a lot of, but I've still hardly made a dent into the yarn I bought. I've certainly not run out of anything yet. So it is getting some decent mileage on it. Okay. Grab a bit more of our green here. Is it hot in here or is it me?
It's a little warm, yes.
Okay. I was like, my legs are sweating. Is this a me thing? It could very well be a me thing. Because I have fuzzy pajama pants on over my shorts. Because it was too cold to sit here in just shorts. Our weather is still having a temper tantrum. We still have ice on the ground, like... Not much of it, but there's still spots where it's holding out. I'm like completely off my center line here. That's okay. So we won't really see that center line soon anyhow. Well, why are you fussing, Mr. Zuzu? Is there a reason why you're fussing? Hi. Oh my goodness, that was like the stretch of all stretches. That was like a full body toe to tail to back toe stretches. My goodness, that looked so satisfying. Was it a good stretch? I hear that tail. And it goes even harder. He is the happiest dog ever. Yes, you are. And he gets mad at me when I stream too long. Oh yeah, definitely. It definitely saves money. Most definitely. I saw a pack of 4 like primary colors in the roving that were maybe the size of 2 of these put together of each 4 colors. So like 2 of these put together would be 1 color, and then, you know, a pack of 4 of that. For like royal blue, a dark green, a white, and I think a red. $16.99, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, that's not gonna go very far, and those aren't even all the colors I need. I was like, oh my god, roving is so expensive. It'd be cheaper to buy my own damn sheep. But it's like, oh my god. Yeah, roving's not cheap. Roving is not cheap. And when I factored in the amount of colors I was gonna need to do this, I was like, oh shit. Like, no, that's not gonna work. That's really not gonna work. I mean, I get it, it's 100% wool, but still, that's a lot of money. A lot of money. For my crippled budget. So I was like, oh no. That's not gonna happen. And then I was contemplating, well, what if I just order a bunch of the little bags? And I was like, I'm gonna run out of a color if I do that. And I'm gonna have a bunch of colors that I don't end up using. So I was like, well, that'll be kind of a waste, right? So, and one of the YouTube videos I had seen, she was like, yeah, and I heard that you could use a yarn too, and I was like, you don't say. It's like, well, yarn would definitely be a more budget-friendly way to go. At least for me, at this very point in time. I'll tell you, they don't make doing art very easy nowadays. Shit is so expensive. So, I mean, if you're really on a tight budget, sometimes you have to really get creative with how you're going to create. So it's tough. It's really tough. Hi, buddy. What you doing? So if you've gotten second hand from the stuff you yeah, like, either have to... Hi, bud. Do you have to potty? Is that what this is about? Do you have to go pee-pee? Is it pee-pee time? You're walking away.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he has to pee. But yeah, like when you're just getting going, don't let people art supply shame you. Because I do know it's a thing. There are some art supply snobs out there. If you're just getting stuff put together, screw them and get what your budget will allow. Even if it's just from like the dollar store or something, just to get going, to get some confidence under you, do it. A lot of my paint that I paint with is craft paint. Like Apple Barrel brand 50-cent bottle craft paint. And it does the job. I mean, you might have to do a couple more coats because it's going to be a little bit more transparent at times, depending on the shade. But, you know, that's just something that you have to do, or you don't let it bother you. Or maybe it'll work for what you're doing. Don't let other people's budgets and ideas fuck with you. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that will throw shade at those getting art supplies from, you know, not art supply stores, like Walmart and things. Although Walmart is stepping up their game a little bit, but I gotta tell you, I've used the craft paints, like the cheapest of the cheap paints. And I've used some of the tube artist paint. And I gotta tell you, I've used stuff from Arteza, I've used stuff from Golden, I've used stuff from, oh shit, who are they from? Liquitex Basics. I've used stuff from Master's Touch when I was shopping at Hobby Lobby. I'm not anymore. I prefer the cheap stuff. It doesn't dry out as fast, it stays wet a lot longer, I can work with it a lot longer, and it cleans up off my palettes a lot better. All I have to do is put a little bit of water on it and let it soak for a minute, and then it peels right off. Although the Arteza is pretty good about cleaning up off my palette. But some of the other acrylic brands, they were terrible on cleanup. And I'm like, ugh. I said, you're expensive and a pain in the ass. But, you know, do what you want. You see that little thing at the dollar store, that, you know, that little wooden thing that you want to paint or decoupage it or do something with it, do it. Do it. Don't let people be like, oh, you're not supposed to put that on there. Fuck them. It's your art piece. Do it. Whatever is gonna make you happy, as long as it's not harming anyone, then do it. Because, you know, times are tough. Times are very tough. Budgets are stretched thin everywhere. You do what you need to do to create stuff that's gonna make you happy. Like, I have oil paints that I'm not really using right now. I'm kind of leery to use them. Because they do smell a bit, and cleanup's kind of a pain in the ass, so I kind of have to have the ability to have the windows open and stuff, but I actually prefer my cheap acrylic craft paint. Hands down. That's just what I prefer, and you can make some decent stuff with them. And you know what? If I fuck up and get pulled away in the middle of painting something and it dries in my palette, I don't feel bad, because it was a 50-cent bottle of paint, and that 50-cent bottle of paint can actually stretch pretty far. Because I don't tend to put a whole lot out as I'm working. I just kind of put out what think I'm gonna need. But, you know, use the brushes that you can. You don't need high-end brushes. If all you can afford is that now, I will say some brushes are shittier than others, and if you get the really, really super shit brushes, then you're gonna have hair falling out of it, so do be prepared for that. But maybe like a $5 pack of multi-brushes from like either Walmart or the craft store that's like, they're like, jack of all trade brushes that say acrylic, watercolor, oil, that could be used for any of those. You know, those are fine. But you know, I mean, yeah, it's gonna take some trial and error to figure out what's worth the funds and what's not. But you know, that comes with either asking other people that have used them or trial and error. I will say don't get the plastic bristle brushes unless you're like just using them for glue or something. Those aren't going to get you very far. I will say that. Those aren't worth it. But, you know, I will say if you're going to use them, if you're going to use like the jack of all trade multi-pack brushes that could be for acrylic or oil or watercolor, whatever medium you end up using them with, keep those brushes for that medium. 'Cause, you know, watercolor and acrylic you might be able to interchange from time to time if you're in a spot. Oil, forget it. Once you use them for oil, that's it. Those brushes are for oil paint because of all of the residue and shit that can stay in those brushes. And it would just be a nightmare when that residue mixes in with whatever else you're working in, because acrylic and oil don't really like each other that much, and definitely not watercolor and oil, so I will say that. But I mean, hell, if you want to paint or create something and all you have is tissue paper, we've shown that you can make stuff with tissue paper. If all you have is scrapbook paper, then, you know, cut shapes out of your scrapbook paper and glue them together. You can glue it on a piece of canvas or a piece of watercolor paper. I wouldn't use expensive watercolor paper, but, you know, if you just have like a cheap sketchbook paper or whatever that can stand up to multimedia use, then do it. I saw one painting. I follow a couple different art Twitters where like they will post random paintings that they've come across with credit to the artist that made them. And the one I was looking at, I was like, that really looks like scrapbook paper. That was, you know, like they had like different patterns in the tree leaves and stuff. Like some of them kind of made me feel like polka dot scrapbook backgrounds or like plaid lines and stuff, and I was like, that would be really cool. So I mean, if you have these pieces of paper that you don't know what to do with, and let me tell you, sometimes the scrapbook paper, when you find that on sale at your art stores, it can be really cheap. Like really cheap. Like sometimes you'll find cardstock like 25 cents a piece. Sometimes you can find the individual patterned sheets, you know, maybe 2 or 3 for $1 sometimes if they're on sale. I mean, hell, we did that one sculpture out of plastic water bottles. If I'd had more time, I would have plastered the whole thing in the flowers that we made out of the water bottles. I was kind of pressed for time on that project, so I didn't do the whole thing, but I kind of gave you the idea of stuff that you could do. Because we go through a lot of plastic water bottles here because we can't really drink our tap water, so I was like, oh, well, let's try to make something out of these. And kind of cut the bottoms off of the bottles and kind of cut flower shapes into the edges going down towards the center, and then held it over a candle that I had lit. You have to be very careful with that one so that you don't burn yourself. That's definitely an adult supervision craft if you are younger. And just high enough over the flame where it would kind of shrink and manipulate the edges. What are you eating? What are you eating?
Meatball.
Okay. For a second I thought it smelled like tomato soup, and I'm like, we don't have tomato soup. What? I was confused. But yeah, spaghetti, that would be with the tomato. I hate being so sensitive, you guys. I really do. It's not fun. Like, I smell stuff that half the people in this house don't smell, and they think I'm crazy. They're like, I don't smell that. I'm like, you're kidding me. How could you not? I mean, hell, there's been times where I've gone outside and just picked up leaves off the ground, and when they weren't like crunchy yet, they were still had some give to them, and put paint on them and did like little stamp art with them. You can do that. Hi buddy, what is that? Hi Zuzu. Mom's doesn't have the food though, Dad's does, and you can't have that anyway. I don't have anything. I have fiber that you can't eat. That's what I got. Hi. What's up? Hi. Does you need a second of cuddles? Do we have to take a puppy break? I think we have to take a puppy break. Let's put the needle in there. Alright, come here. Come. Up. You have to come up. Come on. Come. Zuzu. Oof. Hi. Hi, pupper. The camera's going to be upside down, so if you stick your nose in there, you're going to look like you're coming in at a very strange angle. Hi. See? Mom? Oh, thank you for kisses. See, Mom's doesn't have any food. It's not food. It's a doggy nose. Oh, you're not that upside down. See, that's all Mom's is doing. We don't have food. Yeah. That's all we got. It's yarn, buddy. That's all it is. It's just yarn. Okay? Oh, puppy hugs. Okay. Have we been satisfied? Are we ready to get down now? Are we ready to get down now? Can you not get down? There we go. Alright. Mom has to get back to doing the things, okay? You've got food and you've got water. I'll be done in a little bit. He doesn't understand that I'm talking to other people. Or he smells Russell's food and is like, you must have something. You always give me stuff. What are you gonna give me? And I'm like, Pupper, I don't have anything right now. There is nothing to give you. So we got a little bit of air over in here, but that's okay. That should be fine. So this strand was probably a little bit thicker than I necessarily wanted it to be, but that's alright. It'll be okay. Oh, yeah, that was a little bit thicker than I wanted. Oh well. But yeah, like I've picked up leaves off the ground, I've put paint on them, I've kind of stamped them down on a canvas before, doing different colors. You can do the same thing with like slices of fruit, your hands, your feet. Random objects that you're okay if they get paint on them. Or heck, you could take string or yarn or whatever, multicolored pieces of paper and just glue them down and collage them. one can do a lot with plastic bottles. Yeah, like I was like, oh, let's do this with the plastic bottles then. If I had had more time to put into that project, we definitely would have just plastered the whole thing. Let go. Because after I made the flower shapes, then I covered them in gesso. Just to try to give the paint a better chance to stick to the plastic, because my paint was not specifically for plastic, so you know it will just scrape right off with your fingernail. So you want to dry flowers and put them in resin, but you're hesitant to use resin as the fumes are not good for you, and you do have lung issues, so you might not be the smartest idea. But I'm not sure if the UV resin is a little bit better. Fume-wise, I don't know. I've been curious about trying a resin myself. But yeah, the fumes I was a little nervous about. Some people get like the little respirator mask thingies to wear to kind of help with that, and they make sure that they're either outside or in a well ventilated area. So I would definitely, even if you were outside, I would probably still wear a mask of some description with that stuff. Just to be on the safe side. Yeah, I've been curious about resin, but my dad has a lot of breathing issues, so it's one of the reasons why I was hesitant. And we don't really have anywhere good to let it cure outside. It's always pretty windy here, and there's always some kind of like little tiny bugs or flies or something that I was worried about landing in it. I mean, I could like make a box out of some mesh, because we have some extra screen from when we had to fix one of our window screens. So I'm sure I could make something out of some popsicle sticks and that to put over top of it. Have a little safety cage around it. I will say, I always, when I worked at the craft store some years ago, we had these unfinished wood pieces from time to time. They were, yeah, definitely. They were called, they were unfinished wood pie chests. And they had like little, it was like a little wooden cabinet, and the front doors had, like, kind of like chicken wire. I would have ended up attaching a finer mesh behind it, I think, if I'd actually used it to let stuff dry in, just to keep like dust and stuff from getting in there. But I had like multiple shelves, and then like the meshy doors with like the wood frames around it, and they looked really cute, and I always kicked myself for not getting one, because now I've like never see them. They were expensive though. They were expensive. I think they were around $100, maybe more than that. But we also had like sales where that would be like 40% off. the unfinished wood stuff, and then with my employee discount, it would have been worth it. But I also didn't really have a way to get it home. But I really, really wanted one. And now I really wish that I had done that and gotten that. Because I don't know if they still do those. I mean, they might. And I could probably make one with, if I bought like a small thing of shelves that had doors on it, or I could just buy a small thing of shelves and make doors to go on it. I'd probably find something secondhand in a lot of the antique shops and thrift store shops around here if I really, 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 really wanted to. And if we had the room, I probably would. At least if I was still doing a lot of the oil stuff. Because my improvised drying racks for the oil paintings were dollar store like shoebox containers that we drilled holes into the side of for airflow, and then I had the husband drill a few more holes extra so that we could stick little dowels through them to make different shelf platforms to sit the stuff on to hold it so it would dry. But I had to put the lid on it, so we had to put the air holes in it because my cats are assholes. And they would definitely touch it or knock it off of wherever I had sat it. I don't have shelves up in our room for a reason, because our one cat would definitely jump on them. And the walls in here are plaster, and I don't trust that it would hold. So I have one tiny little micro shelf up that has a llama made of yarn, there we go, marionette sitting on it, that I had gotten at one of the craft fairs that we had gone to. Because it was cute and derpy, and I loved it. I also have a feathered bird. It's not exactly a flamingo, it's just kind of a feathered bird marionette puppet thing. I can't have it out, because the second this cat saw it, it became his life mission to destroy it. So, I have to have it hiding in a container that has a lid on it because of the feathers. When our bedroom was in a different room in the house, the ceiling was a little bit lower, and so we had some hooks in the ceiling that I had hooked it from and let it hang, where he couldn't jump that high to get it. But the room we're in now, the ceiling's very high, so we would have to get ladders involved and stuff to do that. So for the time being, it's just safer if it stays in its box of holding, shall we say. Oh, our tree's got quite some air on it here. That's okay. It's not that noticeable because the other trees are behind it. And I think once we get our highlight color on there, it's not really going to be much of a big deal. I mean, I've got all of these water globes that I was collecting over the years. And I can't display those either. Because I've got nowhere to put them. We would have to get like some kind of like china cabinet or curio cabinet or something that has doors on it that I can close to keep him out. Because if I just put them on regular shelves, I can guarantee one of these cats will be up on that shelf and knock them off. And I don't think any of these are replaceable anymore. A lot of them I had gotten from San Francisco Music Box Company. And I think they did have a lifetime warranty on them, where if the music box stopped playing or something broke on it, they would replace it. But I've had some of those so long now. I'm not even sure if San Francisco Music Box Company is still in business. It might be. But some of them are so old, I don't think I can replace that specific model. I think it would have to be something that was of comparable dollar value at this point. So I really don't want to display them until I can safely do so. I don't think I think I checked on them after we moved just to make sure they were still, or some of them, just to make sure some of them were still in one piece, but they haven't seen the light of day since we moved down here a few years ago. And there's quite a chunk of change invested in those guys, so I really don't want to just get rid of them. But I know the one cat will knock them everywhere, and then I will be very upset if something happens because he was being an idiot. So we're just gonna leave them packed up in their boxes for now. Because he's a climber. The one. He loves to be up high. Like whenever we have the door to our room that goes out onto our front porch open, he is within 5 minutes, he's on top of the door, trying to balance on top of it. And then he's up there for like maybe 10 minutes, and then he's meowing like he wants to get down and can't figure out how. And I'm like, you got up there. So half the time we have to make a landing spot for him or get a step stool and rip him off the top of it when we want to shut the door, and he's like, no, I'm not coming down. He's a bit of a fussy one. Since we're getting near the bottom, I'm just gonna kind of executive decision this one across. Now I do think we'll be stopping on this tree today. We'll put the highlights in. But we'll pick up next week with that other tree that's supposed to come in next to it. Since I do have a few other things that I need to get to today. We'll say I'm really enjoying the series that the husband and... Do you have an IKEA close by? The glass cabinet? I don't know if we have an IKEA nearby. There might be one in Springdale or Rogers. There might be one nearby. I have to look. I mean, for us, that would be nearby, kind of. It'd be like about 45 minutes away. I don't know. I'd have to see. Yeah, I mean, we might find one secondhand. There's a lot of thrift stores around here and pawn shops and stuff. And like flea market type buildings where people set up booths and things. We had thought about trying to sell my art in one of those, but you have to have money to do that, and I know that sounds bizarre, but you have to have the money to pay the rent on the booth, which we don't at the moment, so it'd be kind of, and it would be a lot more than just relisting my stuff on Etsy when it drops, which I think I need to put some stuff up. So all I have right now is the same stuff that I've been putting up, so I might wait to relist on Etsy for a little bit until we get some more of our needle felting stuff. This will probably end up on Etsy. I have no idea how much I'm going to charge for it. Really depends on what it looks like when we're done too. Because there's still a lot that could go wrong here. I'm very aware of that. We will have to, let's see. Because, I mean, I could probably sell some of this backlog that I have, but that hasn't sold on the Etsy shop. But it's just, you know, having the money to do the rent of the space, and I really wouldn't need that big of a space, because I don't have anything that big to sell. But we've been to a couple of the thrift antique type stores they have around here. And I don't know how some of the booths manage to survive, because it seems like it's the same stuff in their booth every time we go. So it doesn't really look like they've sold anything. So I don't know how they're paying their booth rent, unless it's just a for shits and giggles thing and they can spare the lost money. I don't know. Because I think wasn't the rent on one of the booths like $100 or something a month?
Something like that.
It was something that seemed rather ridiculously high for us, when I probably wouldn't even make rent money for the prices that I was charging. So, like, my stuff's priced a lot lower than that, and I was like, well then. Like, that's a lot. And I think that was like the smallest space that they had available. Oh, what'd I do with that? Where did it go? I had it. Have I lost my mind? Did I grab it? I may have grabbed it and thrown it in the pile with the other stuff. I may have. After I was like, purposely, let me leave this out. So, this is This is, I think, close to what color he made. It was a toned down. It was a dimmed version of this, and that's definitely a dimmed version. So this is part of, this is not the acrylic yarn, what I have in my hand right now. This is part of the roving sample set I bought, I guess we'll call it. The stuff has a much different feel to it. It feels a lot frizzier. I know that probably makes absolutely zero sense, but a lot fuzzier. Something like that. So we'll start to just kind of put in a little bit of highlight on this guy. I mean, it still looks pretty bright on this green. Some places take really high prices for a table. Yeah, and like, I get it, you know, and you'd have to like bring in your own stuff to set up your booth to display your things on, and that would be more of an expense for me that I just didn't have the money to put into right now, because I mean, it takes a lot to set that stuff up, because then you have to bring in your own fixtures and, you know, and design your booth to how you want it to look. And, you know, just kind of figure out how you want things to be, because it is technically, you know, storefront. You have to come in and check on it and stuff, and they let you know when something sells. It's kind of like an in-person Etsy, sort of. I can't remember if they also took a percentage of your fee, like a percentage of your sales. I don't remember. They might have, to help pay for the space rent. Can't fully remember. Everything okay?
Yes, your mom just needed help getting something out of the oven.
Okay. Alright. Because we had also thought about trying to apply to the craft fair. But I don't think I have all of the licenses and permits I would need to do that as a seller. And then it's kind of, see, you would have tried if you'd had the energy to pack the stuff into boxes and load the car and carry it in place and unpack it and maybe sell something and then do that. Yeah, like, you know, you have to constantly keep going back in to check on your stuff. And I know it seems silly, but I'm worried about somebody stealing the shit when I'm not there, because a lot of the places are so cavernous. Like, I don't know what their cameras are and where cameras are positioned and everything. So I'd be worried about somebody just like walking off with my shit. Even though it's in a building and everything, but I don't know. I would be weird about it. I would be weird about not being there, you know, keeping an eye on it all of the time. But that's me and my weirdness, so I mean, it's like, well, who the hell would steal, like, a Bob Ross magnet? But at the same time, it's like, you'd be surprised the stuff that people would sell, or, steal, so. But that's just me and my weird muffiness. But the craft fair that, they do every year down the road from us, when we were first talking about it, I really didn't have enough inventory. I felt to even attempt that, like, it would barely fill a table. And then you have to apply, and it has to, I think, go before committee, because it's supposed to be like handmade stuff. Although we've seen stuff that was definitely not handmade that was mass produced there from time to time, and I don't quite know how they managed to get that in. Almost they were just desperate for vendors. Or that's not what they presented to the committee and then turned around and sold it, because you still have to pay a fee to for the table space and stuff, and if you need electricity at your station and whatnot, and honestly, I'd be one of those people that's like, yeah, I totally need electricity here so I can run a fan, because it gets really hot in the beginning of September when they do this. But yeah, I don't think I have enough inventory to do that, and I don't think I have the right permits and licenses and stuff that we would have to get, and then that's more money to get those, so it'd be cheaper just to sell the shit at a yard sale and less trouble, but we don't really have the space to do a yard sale. There's really nowhere for people to park. We can't really do one in our front yard, and our neighbor would do them, but she was sort of on a corner property, so people would stop, and she had like access for people to come in off of the side of the street. We don't really have that where we are. We're kind of sandwiched like next property in with like no front yard, so I mean, people could park across the street, but we really don't have that much else to put out for a yard sale. That people would be interested in. I'm sure at some point we would down the road, just to try to see if we have any junk to get rid of, but even those are a lot of work. Gonna re-flatten that section out. So yeah, that's kind of working on that tree. That tree was a little bit brighter because the sun was a little bit more from that direction. This one's going to be a little bit more muted because there's some other stuff going on that's kind of blocking it. What are you? Where did you come from? Get out of there. Alright. Oh, my neighbor's is venturing out somewhere. So we're gonna listen to his car run for probably the next 20 minutes. Unless he's leaving right away, which he doesn't normally. But it sounded like he put the car in gear. He has an old vehicle, so even on good days he comes out and starts it and then goes inside. For like 20 minutes. Oh no, he did leave right away today. He must be in a hurry. Because he usually doesn't leave right away. And it's usually not too bad, but during the summer or the warmer days when we have our window open, their driveway is like right on our side of the house, so the exhaust comes in from his truck just sitting there running. So that kind of smells a bit gross. And can be a bit much in the warmer months. I'm actually surprised that truck is still running with as much tinkering as he's had to do to it lately to keep it running. The other day he came out and tried to start it and it didn't even turn over. Like, it tried and just nothing was happening. I don't even know how he got it started. I don't know if he jumped it off of his wife's car. Oh, you know what? I don't think he did get it started that day. I think he had to go somewhere and he got in his wife's car and just took hers. That might have been what it was. I don't think he had time to dick with it. Yeah, people will steal if they have the opportunity. Doesn't really matter what it is. So yeah, like, and it's not like that particular shop was close by either. But we had thought about it because they had more than just like the stuff that would fall under like the antique model. Like some people were selling clothes, and I don't know where they were getting these clothes from. I don't know if they were just like picking them up at yard sales super cheap and trying to turn around and sell them there. It's possible. I don't know if these were clothes that they were making themselves. I have no idea. But then to see the prices that they had on a lot of that stuff, and I guess it was to make up for how much they were spending in booth rent. But I certainly wouldn't pay that for something that was secondhand, put it that way. Because it wasn't like it was super rare or anything, as far as we could tell. I mean, we've seen some pretty neat things, but we've also seen the prices on some of those and been like, what? The thing is falling apart. We would have to do some major work on it. And you're still charging like $400? Thanks, but no. I'm gonna pass. I could probably get something new, unfinished, for like $250 and just stain it and finish it myself. Alright, so we have just a little bit more to go on this tree for today. And a lot of this might end up getting covered between whatever's going on down in here, but that's okay. I'd rather do this now than come back and do it later. I know he didn't do it right away on his, but I'm also not sure if he forgot. I think he kind of looked up and he's like, oh, we need to highlight the tree. Which might have been partly why the highlight on that one was a little bit more muted because of the other colors of green that he had going on.
What was it?
Oh, one of these tall trees in this.
Oh, okay.
He put it in and he didn't highlight it until like towards the end of the painting, but it was a different highlight shade than the other trees were. But I think that was just because he had that shade of green on his brush and he was restricted on time. So that's why we're being a little bit more muted on the highlight on this one, but there is also stuff in front of this one, so that could be part of it. Probably have to actually watch it with the sound on, but I think it was just an oversight and he looked up and he was like, oh, right, tree. I think he got excited about putting in the other bush and kind of forgot what he was in the middle of. Alright. So they're not the greatest of trees, but they kind of get the point across. These trees are actually really hard to do in the fiber. I mean, I might have been able to do them a slightly different way, but I also didn't practice trying to do them. It's like, oh, we'll figure it out. I figured something out for them. Alright, we're gonna leave that bottom area a bit darker. We want to leave some dark stuff in there. So just get all of that tagged down there. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not a masterpiece, but it's not terrible. It gets the point across. Alright. So, next week we will put in our little skinny guy here. And our bush, we're gonna try to squeeze in. You know, I'm kind of hesitant to put in that other tree anyway, because that big tree that he puts in here kind of takes up all of this room for the most part. He kind of starts it like we'll start it up here. I might leave that one out, or we might try to squeeze it in over here somewhere just to give this room, because I think if we try to put it in here, we're gonna lose a lot of it. Like, we might be able to get a little bit of it in here. Maybe we might put like half of it in. We might have it stick out from behind this one at a slight angle. We could do that, but I don't think we're going to do the entire tree, because then we've got that big splotchy thing that's going to come in here and then fill all that in. So I think that's what our game plan is for next week. So this week stream schedule should be, at this moment in time, Wednesday we'll be doing some wild challenges stuff. We're going to try to get that monk to 60. And we'll see who else ends up on the day for that. We'll at least have the monk and the pacifist that we're currently leveling. Thursday should be Parkitect. We're going to continue on with our campaign progress. And Friday, the husband will pick back up finishing up his build. He's got some staff buildings that he needs to decorate still. I think there's a couple more things he might want to do to tinker out his animal exhibit, and then he'll spin the wheel for me. Saturday we're going to be dark, and then next Sunday we'll be doing this again. We'll be picking this back up. We think the plumbers might start tomorrow, so we're hoping that'll be done by Wednesday. If they're not, and Wednesday's stream schedule gets impacted, I will let you know. Just keep an eye on Twitter. And don't forget to follow all of the places down below. We've got the YouTube channel, the Instagram. There's not a whole lot on Instagram right now. I'm just mostly posting my art stuff there. We've got the Etsy shop and the Kofi page, where I will post photos of other stuff that I'm working on. It's gonna kind of mirror the Instagram to a degree. And then don't forget to follow here at the very least, and turn your notifications on if you have the app up, so that'll tell you when I'm streaming if you don't want to follow on Twitter. So it looks like Zortz is streaming. I'm not sure, what is he streaming? He's streaming Saints Row again, so he's been on a Saints Row kick lately. So we're gonna go say hi after I pull off my finger protectors so that we can type. Oh, thank you. We're trying. We're trying like hell to do something similar to Bob's. We're sort of getting there. Alright, hey, I can type today. And thank you guys for stopping in, and I will see you next week.